Alright guys, it is first period and I'm making a video because in this class I have only a few in the room and like 90% of the class is online either temporarily or permanently, so I don't want you to miss anything. This video is going to be super short though. A couple things. One, I posted a calendar of which days are A and B because it's hard to keep track if we don't have a bunch of normal days in a row. And because we've got snow in the future, whenever the snow days happen, it's a little hard to keep track of that. And then on Friday, even though it wasn't a day for this class, I added some grades. And I especially looked at the presentations. You can even see right now, I got these tabs open in my browser of the slideshows I was going through. For some of them, I added a couple of comments and said, oh, you want to change this or add one more thing before you're ready. But totally my fault. On some of those I was late, where it's like the person already made the video, or if you already made the video and then I asked you to change something, well, I'm not going to ask you to do it again, so I won't count that against you. But if you haven't, that's fine. I'm going to start grading the videos today. I've graded every other step, and that also means I'm going to put in a 0 if you don't have it, so make sure that doesn't stay that way. If you want to start the next part, I'm going to add one more thing, which is last week I mentioned this story and I posted a link to this story. It's called Cinnamon by Neil Gaiman, and it's our first fantasy. The class is sci-fi and fantasy, and we've read only sci-fi so far, so I wanted to get the other side. And we're starting with the very short one. This story is 5 pages, and that's even with the big font, so it's really the shortest one we've seen. And you may have heard of this guy, Neil Gaiman, if you've ever read one of his books or seen one of the movies or shows based on it. If you've ever seen Stardust or Coraline or American Gods, I believe there's a series coming out soon based on a comic book of his called Sandman, so you'll probably recognize that name. I'm going to have a little assignment about this with some questions, and again, the questions are going to be mostly like the last few about the genre, like, well, how do you know? How does this fantasy work differently from the sci-fi, and what if they're mixed together? Things like that. So that's the plan. By the way, I mentioned how the title of the class is sci-fi and fantasy. Actually, if you look at your schedule, the title of the class is novels, sci-fi and fantasy. And we haven't read novels yet. And I'm not able to just hand them out. Like if you were here, I could say, well, here's The Hobbit, or here's The War of the Worlds or something. However, I am thinking about reading some longer stuff, not just short stories forever, but maybe some medium-sized stuff. There's a category called novella. A novella is anything that's a little more than a short story, but not quite full novel. So luckily, there are a bunch of great novellas. Sci-fi and fantasy have a lot of sort of medium-sized, like 5 or 6 chapter stories, and a lot of them are freely available. Maybe they're 100 years old, like H.G. Wells or H.P. Lovecraft or something like that. So maybe in a few weeks, or maybe at the beginning of next quarter, we'll get into some novellas and longer stuff. I actually got a little bit of a lesson prepared for that last week when you guys were at home. So that's the plan. Presentations. I'm going to make a post that says, hey, if you want to share, you can post your thing and I'll give you extra credit. You don't have to. Next assignment right here, I'll make an assignment for that. And then I'm going to be adding in grades for those things. Really, the only thing you have to worry about is if you don't have it at all, and it'll be a 0, but I'll still take it late. I'll still change it, especially now because I feel bad about grading them late, that I'm not going to begrudge you doing the same. Thanks.